Another edition of Sunday Morning Live on FM here in the studios of OGBC 90.5 in Abeokuta. My name is Wole Otayemi, and today we've got a big fish in the house. We are going back to the days, we are going back to our source because today we shall be taking a look at drama, the study of art itself, how art is not truly a dramatist, but someone who and is an entertainer who entertains people at occasions, goes to places, make them laugh. That is the job he does. And suddenly he contested for the presidency of the country, and today is the president. So that tells you that in the world of art, there are brilliant, intelligent individuals who can turn around things in any society. They do it by their work on stage, the messages they put across to audience, and the lessons people learn from it. When you say lessons, they learn. If you call it catharsis, they are not far away from it. That is the point of emotion of an audience from the work of art he or she is watching. So this morning we're looking at drama, touch the society positively. And then it is therefore important that quality contents that are produced in the movie industry are watched and appreciated by the audience. This morning we're looking at the use of drama as a role model in correcting social ills in our society. And the veteran producer is in the house. Who is Mr. Tunde Kelani? He's going to be leading the discourse this morning. Our guest this morning was born in Lagos, but at the youthful age of 5, he was sent to live with his grandparents in Abeokuta. His education, prestigious Abeokuta Grammar School. His grandfather was the chief, Balogun of Ijaye Kukudi, in Abeokuta, where he was the Bari region, the literature, the philosophy, environment, and the Yoruba worldview at a very close quarter. He was introduced to Yoruba literature in secondary school, where he had the privilege to see most of the great Yoruba theatrical classics, including the Palm White Drinkard, Obakunrumi, Obakoso, Ogun, and many others. Tunde Kelani got interested in photography from as early as primary school days. Throughout his secondary school education, TK, as it's popularly called, was actively investing his money and time to learn photography. So inevitably, he became an apprentice photographer after he finished from secondary school right here at Abeokuta Grammar School. Tunde Kelani holds a diploma in the art and technique of filmmaking from the London International Film School in the United Kingdom. He's an advocate of alternative technology in motion picture production in Africa. Tunde Kelani uses the mobile cinema project designed to take information and entertainment to the grassroots. That's why this morning, we'll be taking a look at the man, his works, and how these things have been able to reposition our society. Some of us who love watching his productions. Good morning, sir, and welcome to OGBC.
Thank you for inviting me. And good morning, listeners. Here in Abeokuta, the weather is gray, it's cloudy, it's wet, it's cold. But don't worry. I'm sure after cloud, the sun is going to break through the clouds, and we're going to have a beautiful sun-filled Sunday here at Abeokuta.
Can we put up a production from that weather? Is it possible?
Well, because stories every day of our lives, we live in stories. Things happen every day in story. This morning, I woke up very early because I was going to be picked by the car, sent from OGBC at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. So I woke up, I was ready, and like all Nigerians, pumped water because somehow NEPA was around. So I wanted to take advantage of that and so on. And I was picked up. We drove through the city, finally arrived. That's a story.
It's a story.
So you are right.
Yeah.
You can make a story even from this experience.
Now, how do we navigate our society positively? When you look at the incursion of foreign culture and tradition into our lifestyle and our own indigenous culture and tradition, how do we navigate the current crop of things in our society to make us not allow this thing belonging to us to be eroded away.
Well, I think that's a good question, and that's open to Nigerians generally, because everything, as we say in Yoruba, eto ni eto. If we have planned for a particular result, then we'll get the result. But if we abdicate those responsibilities and refuse to plan at all, and then anything can happen. And because I have moved closely to the very land people, professors, scholars, and all that, I, at the risk of sounding like a parrot, repeating myself, I've asked Professor Akimishala once, what era are we in? And Akimishala told me, TK, we're in a cultural vacuum. And when the people are in a cultural vacuum, moral decay will follow. So, I'm, like you said, I'm privileged because on January 17th, 1955, the Western region, in the whole of Western region, 400,000 children, school children, went to school for the first time, free
of charge.
And I suspect that's why my father brought me to Abeokuta at age 5, because I was one of those 400,000 children. Everything was planned. And they had it all figured out. Our education was in Yoruba language, I think, for the first few years. And they contained everything, spiritual, physical, and intellectual. In the school, we had a field where we played. Physical education was compulsory at least once or twice a week. And all subjects were taught in the Yoruba language, and then English was added later, And at the end of every year, every class must produce a play and present a play. So we had our teachers turned drama coaches who put up, through this. So I think we were lucky because we had sort of a rounded education and began to create heroes among children. And then throughout secondary school, as we go along, come back to this thing. So to answer your question,
yes,
it is possible, but it has to be planned and executed and funded.
The foundation of any individual is seen to be from the home. What is the role of parents in this regard?
The role of mothers.
Mothers, okay.
Primarily because the men have responsibilities, but the mothers actually pass on, and they are motivators. They pass everything mostly to. That's why languages are called mother tongues. Pass on to the children directly. And the father supports as well, the home. Maybe before age 6 or so. But what was passed on to me from when I became to recognize things up to age 5 or 6 is in the home. So that's the primary contact with information and training. See, so the foundation of any child development is from the home.
It's from the home. And so the home must be well prepared for it. Socially, they must be prepared economically, they must be prepared spiritually too. Because any child that is growing up in the family needs spiritual upbringing too. Moral upbringing must be part of it. You know when to greet good morning, sir. You know when to say good afternoon, sir. You know when to dọ̀bálẹ̀ kanlẹ̀ àti kúnlẹ̀ ẹsẹ̀ méjì kó ṣe ẹsẹ̀ kan bẹ́ẹ̀ tó ní àkọdùn.
lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ wàá jẹ ìkóló yìí.
Serious one. Now let's look at, we have seen the beginning of the family, the foundation of the family. Where is the family today?
I think there has been sort of a dispersal because the family was close knit. Before you knew everyone, you lived, Like when I was growing up, if you felt this person, he's here, it's all okay, don't worry, he's slept off, don't worry, wake up the following morning, just find his way home. Because in fact, the Yorubas lived in a sort of a compound structure. And when the last person who comes back, otherwise everybody will say, but I use a massive word.
Let's do for him.
Either let's find out what gather information about that. But everybody is dispersed now. We lived in flats. We live now in fenced ourselves in from the neighborhood, and so there's not that kind of close knit
communal living
system. We lost all that.
Okay, let me ask you this question because quite a number of people have role models before they choose a particular career they want to find themselves working in. Who's your own role model?
Well, for me and my age, our first role model, we also wanted to be Awolowo, Obafemi Awolowo, who today has remained, we never forget him at home, and the history and development of Nigeria as one of the true leaders that Nigeria ever witnessed. So on the other hand, then others wanted to be Taisholani. Of course, we all want to be like Wole Soyinka, and that's not all. I was privileged when I was in the Bishop's to watch the Pan Drink Card, and I saw Kola Ogunmola on stage for the first time, and I have never forgotten that experience. Of course, there was not a shortage of heroes then, and then it's not those leaders. To really become famous, you have to distinguish yourself either in athletics or football, secondary mathematical. And then here in Abeokuta, at Abeokuta Grammar School, we have our own Daniel Awo, Akpepe, our goalkeepers, Agoke, Olaloko. Those are, if you like, heroes. And then, of course, at Nisa Grammar School, they were ruling the Western region at that time. We had Dele Odegbami, Ojingolo, Ogun, Kasali, and all these that's where it starts from. But today, I'm so sorry for today's generation, because I don't know who their heroes are. Now some of them might say their heroes are Michael Jackson. Don't blame them, because heroes are in short supply these days. Or maybe politicians.
Okay. Yes, your grandfather was a chief in the Ijai area, purely an African man, rooted deeply in Yoruba culture, philosophy, language, everything. How did that influence you?
My grandfather was Balogun of Ijai, and I see this opportunity to drop my heart and salute the Balogun of Ijai at the president, But I took it from the whole cultural experience, because I'm privileged to have started in oral tradition, because the whole community had stories to tell me orally. And then I was able to observe and perhaps take part in the culture of the people in terms of procession, festivals, Egungun Festival, Oro Festival, the music, the people, the language. I still clearly, we are backgrounds.
You still relish it?
I relish it, because when I think back, what language were they speaking back in the family who in Abeokuta were speaking almost or your dialect? Then my grandmother would say, "Edo de to me we yo."
What does that mean?
Edo mi shon wa. So Later, at that time, it didn't make any difference to me. Then my mother, of course, speaks a bad dialect completely, you know. So when as you grow up, you begin to see, you know, this multiplicity of this culture, and that's what makes Abeokuta so rich and so unique, you know, in my experience. You know, so everybody in our own family compound, we have people spiritually, people who practice traditional religion,
Yes.
and then the Orthodox Christianity, and we are involved in everything.
Well, those days, I mean, your own generation, your own period when you were growing up, is a period of Alo Apamo, Alo Apagbe in the evening, when you gather at the family compound, and elder person will come and tell you stories. But these days,
But those are transitional. Even then, you don't see do that forever. It's between the first 1, 2, 3 years, 4 years of your life.
yes,
Sometimes you just go out of that, and then you see children sitting by one man, say, oh, you know, you are beyond that, because there are other influences. And the most important one to me was the ability to read and write, because they told me all these oral stories and everything. But by being a beneficiary of education, primary education, free education, I was able to read and write. That's important. So I began to read back. I get into Delano, Odujo, Alawiye, picked all the stories in them, and then Dio Fagua started to read the saga. To my grandfather. That's very interesting. And then the first sign of success was that we became letter writers. Suddenly, when they say, Lokwe, anybody wá mi for letter yìí, and then you say, Mama, mo lè kọ ìwọ, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo lè kọ.
don't pick your pen.
Ó yá, pen ẹ̀dà, ó yá ink ẹ̀dà, jókòó, ó yá, a máa sùn lórí ẹni, ó yá bẹ̀rẹ̀, ó yá mi sọ ní pé ìwọ̀n ó dà wọ́n wá ní ó yá bá mi sọ fún pé kò ṣe báyìí, tó bá kọ́ tán ni kàkí mi ti dá ọmọ mi ti ọmọ mi ló kọ lẹ́tà yìí. That we started to see the results immediately.
The importance of education.
The importance of education, because first of all, there could not be development without culture. That's the first education. And then, of course, everything follows. But the important is, if development is true about people,
Yes.
and it is so, it's about people and all the people all the time, then there cannot be that development without your culture, your language, your arts, and everything. So that is the bedrock of the development.
It's Sunday morning live on FM. We're in the studios of ODBC 90.5. And our guest today is veteran film producer and director Tunde Kelani. We'll be looking at drama, arts, culture, tradition, everything, the meaning, the interpretation of all these in our social circle, how they can be used to remodel our lifestyle positively. And that's the focus of our discourse this morning. And our guest in the last 24 minutes has been telling us his background, his experiences so far. And he has equally paid glowing tribute to Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who introduced primary education free, universal basic education free in 1955, precisely 17th day in the month of January. He is a beneficiary of such. And he has told us that to move forward, we need to begin the family upbringing positively from our parents. Learn from the parents. Let them teach us. Let us learn from them. The society will benefit from that. Sir, you have a lot of productions. I may not be able to go to details of that. But what has been the turning point of some of these productions and the gains society must have been opportune to have from them?
Well, when you talk of, you lay emphasis on drama, but
Yes.
it's not that it's drama that will change the society. I told you, I said everything is ètò lórí ètò ni, and that the government at that time decided and they planned very, very well. How many children to go to school? 400,000. In 5 years' time, 6 years' time, where will they be? And then for their development, where will they work? And then where will they live? What you see, it was all planned out, mapped out. There were development programs that were strictly executed, and of course, they budgeted for them and found the funds to do this. See, it's not
It's not rocket science.
No, it's not rocket science to start with. And then drama derives from the culture. It's not as if drama will. No, it is what happens in society that is mirrored in the drama. So if you now find a defect in the kind of drama they are witnessing now, it is the aggregate of the conscience of the society at that particular time.
Exactly.
That is what they will mirror. So that's why Akim Mishola says that if there's a cultural vacuum, it will affect everything. So basically, that's what it is. So we had now it's time to pay, just give honor to what we call the golden era of the Yoruba traveling theatre. Because these are a bunch of the hardest working professional people who with everything travel the whole length and breadth of Yoruba nation and beyond to entertain people. Sometimes almost for nothing, which again they took from the culture itself.
Exactly.
So usually when I was at Belter Grammar School, they toured. The traveling theatre toured Ogungwe traveling theatre. They all came around regularly, and so on. So, like you said, most of the play perhaps reflected the good and evil. At a time, evil will appear to be winning, and then finally good will overcome evil, and so on. So those are generally the apart from the entertainment value, they passed on messages through the place that they presented at that time.
Let's look at it from this perspective. That in the past, stage plays seemed to be the in thing, and the quality of movie production that were not even of the stage were top notch. But today, you see all kinds of low quality content. The question continues to bother one's mind that where is can't you go back to the return of stage play? And what are the advantages of having stage play?
Well, I think that stage play has somehow taken a backseat, today.
Why?
As a result of the world is changing. You have to respond, especially to technology that's coming in. And then, that if you track the trajectory of the Yoruba traveling theatre, they travel. Yeah. And then when the first television station in the whole of Africa, was opened in Ibadan in 1959, yes. Where was the content? The programming content was going to come from. Of course, there was a lot of cowboy films and all that, foreign news, but the local content came from the theater, because suddenly they were now required and brought into the production stream, in the television. So there was less traveling, and then there was a concentration because they make television popular. All those they had drama group that produce space almost on a daily basis, and then they increased the quota of foreign to local programming, which again at that time signified a transition. And then they have now, all these people now have now moved into filmmaking and media content production. This is very interesting because of the advancement in technology and media and internet and all of these things. So today you couldn't actually say that cinema agbelewo, like you used to say, because it's no longer agbelewo. Everybody has access to YouTube.
Sir, in recent times, those days we used to have a drama that readily mirrors the society, but in recent times, themes such as ritual, witchcraft, armed robbery, and the rest of them dominate what we watch on home videos these days. Where's our place?
I think it depends, because what I find very exciting about the Nigerian film industry or Nollywood film life, the product, the content has whatever it prefer those films, because if those films didn't sell in the first place, they would have gone out of production. And don't forget that the practitioners, the industry is thousands of small scale businesses.
Yes.
And we have distributors, we have marketers and all, and they fund productions. And they have, they control the market, and so what they will respond to the demand in the market. And so why is a business? Some of the concern is a consumer territory.
Okay.
But if true, what I've noticed is that because we sever the connection between the people and the culture, we have a lot of misrepresentation of the Yoruba culture itself. So we can start a process of revision or mitigate some of these things.
Okay. Well, it's still Tunde Morning Live on FM here in the studios of OGBC 90.5. You can follow us on all our social media platforms. Our YouTube page is very functional. You can see us live there, also on our Facebook page. And you can tweet and send your messages all to OGBC 90.5 this morning. Our guest is veteran film producer and director Tunde Kelani. He's been telling us the missing link in how to mitigate our system back into normalcy from the rots we have now, especially among our youth. How we can use art to turn around the fortune of our society. 0803-437-9453, 0815-032-0226, and two numbers to call this morning. Before I take, the calls as they're coming, I'll be taking them. But before then, quickly, Kola Adekunle from Ashiro asked this question from online. He said, how can we sanitize the industry? Well, we are going to respond to that after this call. Good morning to you. How are you today? Your name and where you are calling from?
Oh, hello. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for calling.
You are on. Read one.
Production. That's number two, sir. And the last is, sir, the depth of art and culture in so many schools in Nigeria are going to moribund. What are you doing to foster the glory of art and culture in our society?
Well, thank you for your questions. I think the first thing, if there is necessity, if there is need to revamp our educational and development policy, and that falls within the realm of both government and the people.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's all about a plan, a master plan, and then over time, then we begin to see the results. And as to the way films that go to the cinemas, have to be classified by the National Film and Video Censor Board. But it's a free world today. Anybody who has a mobile phone and a stick can become a online television media content producer. So you are free to join, and chances are today, if you have a story to tell, and you really want to tell it, there's nothing to stop you from telling the story and put it on YouTube free. And so you can share it. So people share such stories. So I think you are generalizing, because today they are very difficult so not to be a gatekeeper of what the public sees or expresses. So it depends on you, because you have a choice. Most of these things out there, it's not that you are forced to buy to consume. No, it's choice to decide to see what you want to see. But the films that have to have a classification, without a classification, the public cannot see it.
So that is not to be broadcast.
Well, it's not to be it depends on, of course, Nigerian Broadcast Commission, or what's in broadcast or not.
Okay.
But today, people have access to information and entertainment, everywhere.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning. I'm through here audibly. So you can call us back to that line 0803. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name, where are you calling from?
My name is Mowale Akinbowale, and I'm calling from Abeokuta.
Thanks for calling.
Good morning, Chief.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
I appreciate you. I want to thank you for coming to OGBC to share with us your experience. To me, it's photography. And can you take us back into the days of, the celluloid, and the constant metamorphosis that has brought us, to where we are now? I want you to link it with you talk about this that whoever has a cell phone or an iPhone or whatever, becomes, a professional. So, don't you think we need a sort of, shall I say, censoring, or going into this and let us see that we get value for money as far as the professionalism is concerned in photography? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question, but it's a different world entirely, and so we have to move on with the times. But wanted the really a meal, you can go to a restaurant. From restaurant, you can go to an hotel. So it depends on your taste. Or you can have an occasional snacks, gala by the roadside. So most of those options are almost the same. If you really wanted to go out and watch something that is, you have to go to cinema for it. Otherwise, you can pick it up anywhere. So basically, that's what is happening. And then you must think of development. Nobody can stand in front of development. There was a time when people could read and write. A letter in this book that was not more than 200. And then everybody got a biro, so anybody can pick a piece of paper and write. But not everything that is written like that can be published. So everything in life has different stages and different values. So we have to understand and learn to live with that. That's why access to information and consumption of materials, I think homes still have a lot of role to play about how parents allow their wards or children, to have access to technology and the use of all these things and so on. But you can't go out and stop the world now, because everybody has access to mobile phone in their pockets and they are free to use it, as long that they are not breaking the law. Do you understand? So
yes.
Basically, I think times have changed, and we have to learn and see and how these are used in other places, and then just move on with it.
He asked you about the evolution of photography from celluloid to probably if it is video to VHS, now later to the DVD, now to cartridge, or to, it depends. He was trying to ask you the evolution of.
Well, I just see that it's sometimes both good and bad. I think the good,
Yes.
it's good. It is good because when we use celluloid and the old analog chemical process, look, we didn't have access to the means of production. Everything was imported from abroad. Even the films came from abroad, and then when you have shot the film, you have to send back abroad. But because Nigeria economy was heading for a collapse in the 80s, there were structural adjustment program to the economy, and Nigeria fell. Nigeria naira fell against other currencies, and therefore could not afford the foreign exchange, to make films, basically. But then, thank God, other technologies came around, and video was just coming, and some smart Nigerian businessmen tried to use video. And interestingly, today, most of the films produced in America today is not on celluloid. We haven't gone to digital filmmaking. And what that has done for us in Africa is giving us the opportunity, with a modest investment to own the means of production and to have the tools with which we can continue to tell our own stories. Basically, that is the advantage, and I think Nigeria is doing very well in Africa and is leading the West African sub-region and possibly Africa too by now, despite the fact that we still have insufficient infrastructure, and we need to work on this, to truly make our film industry sustainable.
Okay. Let's take more calls. 0803-437-9453, 0815-032-0226. Our guest is still in the house. Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for calling this morning. Your name?
Hello, good morning. My name is Ademola Olatunju.
Thanks for calling, sir.
I salute veteran ticket.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Olatunju.
Yes, I can put you more. Sir, you are a visiting fellow of FUNAB.
Yes.
May I ask you, what can arts and culture be used? How can be used to promote agriculture in view of scarcity of food insecurity? Two, sir, in this era of digital economy, how relevant this is the Nigerian Film Institute based in Jos? I know you at one point in time being the chairman of the board, and then the Video and Censors Board. How relevant, what challenges are the digital economy posing to them? Three, sir, we seem to be forgetting our heroes, and you have mentioned them earlier on. I grew up in Osogbo to know Kola Ogumola, Drola Dipo, Oyadejobi, and the Olivia of those days, and we still talking about Papa Ogunde. It seems when we're even talking about culture, we are not recognizing them as they should be recognized, and we are not making the best use of their ancestry at promoting our culture. And lastly, sir, are we sincere at promoting our culture, going through our national policy and, of course, our attitude to our culture? Is it just a question of making mouth, or are we taking the right steps towards promoting our culture, towards fostering national unity and development? Thank you, sir.
Well, that's a lot of questions. I hope I can remember all of them. But firstly, I would like to, at this point, thank the Vice Chancellor, Professor Salako of the Federal University of Agriculture, and the university itself for giving me the opportunity to contribute something that's very, very small and tiny, to the instant. And I'm excited when I'm among young people, and basically my role is to look at what they're doing and expose or give them an idea, the ability to consider some media education, because they will come out from coming out of School of the University of Agriculture and into entrepreneurial environment. They have to start thinking about like entrepreneurs now, But whatever they do, they will need media. And today, even the filmmaker must be an entrepreneur, and they also must be entrepreneur. But everybody needs a sort of a media, education and media training to promote their business, to move on into the world. So um, this is a tremendous opportunity and advantage for me to try to intervene in a small way, just as an addition, to their core objectives. And I've had a fantastic relationship with that university. And then
He asked you about the Films College in Jos.
the Films College, by the way, it is very interesting because I've witnessed a more attention to capacity building in the Nigerian film industry. There are, every opportunity to learn is necessary, to show off the quality and standard of our cultural products. And the school in Jos is doing a tremendous job. And here, especially in Lagos, there are some of openings for young people, training opportunities, for new entrants and even professionals in Nigerian film industry and Nollywood. We have to work on that because training can improve the quality of our films across board. That's even welcome. So, what is the other question?
That's to do with promoting our culture.
Digital, yeah, remember the one about digital. I think we should not look at digital as, we should look at it as asset, because it can be, if used positively, can be a catalyst to rapid economic development. And the industry now has been recognized as an important contribution to Nigeria's GDP or economic development as well. And it's interesting that Nollywood is projected a leading industry. Our collective creative industry is going to be huge, because as long as I'm an optimistic, Nigeria, of course, is part of all these problems. Nigeria is going to be great, and when it happens, the entertainment industry and the creative industry have a role to play in the economic fortunes of Nigeria.
And just to add to it, he said, going through our national policy, where is the place of culture in developing Nigeria?
Well, and particularly interested in made history compulsory in
among the subjects to be offered by children.
Yes, in primary schools, and then elective in secondary school as well. That is the process of the research orientation we are looking at. And then, of course, the importance of starting implementing Yoruba or any indigenous languages in our schools, before, of course, and then before taking it to English, because all over the world, countries that have used their own language to develop are done far better than those ones that have adapted foreign languages.
China is an example.
Japan is an example. Whole world, yes, except Nigeria, outside Africa.
Okay.
And that is perhaps explains our underdevelopment. The rate of our development is very, very slow.
Slow, at a snail's speed. It's Sunday Morning Live. Our guest is the veteran film producer and director, Tunde Kelani.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name? Okay.
I'm calling from Atlanta. I want to believe that the benefits of drama are possible. For example, you want to stage a play of Lego Job, and you find yourself in a big forest with animals. How possible? All those animals, are you going to, which method are you going to, so that you'll be able to know that what Baba is dealing with in the book? For example, like a snake. So how do you want to do that? Then secondly, those who are attending theater art in the university, and those who have the gift, who are gifted, and they don't even attend school or university. I think these people, the later, are making it, because people have more interest in them. So how can we just put this?
Thank you, Alaji. Sir, you're going to add that with this one that says that from Kola Adekunle, who said Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo and the Minister of Works, Waside Fashola, spoke against movie industry promoting money rituals as a real thing for the ritual killings in Nigeria. What do you have to say to this? And also, do you think talents are enough to survive in this field? And there is the need for academic qualifications. People that are going into this industry that do not have academic qualifications. Let's have your
Well, academic qualifications, I think, has a purpose. At least it puts you through discipline, of networking among your own and together starting a program and completing it within a specified time. That's discipline and learning itself. But outside, it becomes a living. What are you going to do for a living? That's why people, have to be thinking. That's why in the universities, like in FUNA, for instance, they are the Center for Entrepreneurial, Studies. So it prepares students, for life after
the campus. Yes.
Okay, that's on the one hand. And then I don't want to forget because they cited the last caller
from
Lalate talked about Badelan's book, and I remember, Ayedaye Oyinbo, which is a classic by Zone. In fact, Ayedaye Oyinbo, they've said that if it had been published in English, it would be standing side by side with Things Fall Apart, Professor Chinachori. Anyway, that's another thing entirely. Anything you see on the screen is possible. It probably will take time and money. You can create virtually anything. So in the case of 10,000 Ibadan soldiers meeting economist army of 7,000, and so it can be created. So what we call CGIs. These are computer-generated imagery. You can virtually do anything if you had the time and money. So that's not going to be a problem. Even talk about was all those more than 400 characters, Ibembelokuno and Jamibel, and all of these things. Those can be equally, generated, with money and and time. So that's not a problem in motion pictures. What other question is there?
Yes, the other question is that two key politicians, Vice President Osinbajo and Minister of Works, Waside Fashola, they spoke against movie industry promoting money rituals as a real thing, fueling, saying that that is what is the ritual killing.
Well, that's all. I shared the same sentiment with them, but again, that's when I have to say you have to return to your culture, because when you are growing up, you have ideas you heard about people who don't schedule and made money and so. But really think about it. Is it really true? Do you really think that the bone of a human being can fetch you millions? And so it depends on what you think. But generally, if you go back to the culture, actually they had reinforced our children with this. Chances are you can be tempted. Like, I did a very small piece of when after secondary school with my friend Tawo Shajobi in Lagos, one Baba Onifa, quite popular. They called him Baba Onifa because I can see the work he was doing. And we had a brainwave. I went to Baba, please, can you share the Shogun so that you can just want money? And then I said in Yoruba, yes, I can help you, but you won't know how to spend the money. Baba, if yes, we know how we can. We don't worry, let's do it. Yeah, if you are ready, I'll be ready to help you. And I said, first of all, the two of you go and buy 2 coffins. And when you're ready with this coffin, we will continue. Even from that point, if from that point you have been well brought up in the cultural way, how can I, a 20-year-old boy, go and buy coffee?
To do what?
How will I carry it? And when I take it home, and people, if I even carry the coffin, will not people in the neighborhood say,
What is wrong?
what's wrong with you? I tell my, so at that point, even if we went beyond that, the Baba say when we are ready, then we tie chains to the coffin, and then you will start the ritual, and each one of us be drawing the coffin to our cell. Baba, ní mi, màá fi ara mi máa fakó sí wa bára mi, tí ní mi.
Inviting death.
I'm sure, if we are brought, we did not abandon our culture and everything. It is something we come and check you at the right time. Not talk about religion that we practice at every turning point. There are things to check us. So I think that I agree that we have to, maybe talk to producers of such works. If that's what I mean by the consumer decision. If people didn't watch it, or if they didn't buy it, or anything, then they won't make another one.
Yes, if they have gone bankrupt after first production, exactly, and there is no followership,
exactly,
then they will. Okay, I think we are coasting home on the program today. Mr. Tunde Kelani has been our guest on this edition of Sunday Morning Live. He has been able to explain some of those things that you and I need to know more about our culture, tradition, about the movie industry, filmmaking, everything. So, as we are living in 2-3 sentences, how do you want to see this industry in the next 10 years?
10 years is a long time.
Long time.
It's a lifetime in either in technology or the technique or the business itself.
Yes.
So let's say, because the Nigerian industry is responding to technological advancement and it is rapid. Now we're going to go to 5G.
Yes.
If you go into 5G, that is a game changer. Everything changes and so on. So you couldn't even say today, any true professional, if you do not update your knowledge on a monthly basis, you'll be obsolete in 2 months or 3 months. So I foresee something, because the Nigerian industry, we started from the bottom of the ladder and we are climbing up gradually. And our population and our youth, those are our assets. We should, every penny we have now, should just invest in the education and the training of our youth.
Okay.
And then Nigeria is already on the way to become a global force to be reckoned with in global cinema.
Well, I want to thank you sincerely for being our guest today, Mr. Tunde Kelani, veteran film producer and director. The studios, as usual, I'm produced by Benga Oshidele, ably assisted by Abiodun Gudikwe and Wahid Ogunjobi. Well, Francis Enosho has been our ICT man on duty. Ibukwa Kinola has been pressing the right buttons as the studio manager, while Tokpe Babalala is the announcer on duty. My name remains Wole Otayemi. By the grace of the Almighty, we'll meet again in 7 days. Let's do everything possible that will make our culture and tradition remain intact. That is our identity, and that's our lifestyle. See you again next week.